bless you all. Let you all open all your three eyes and manifest the powers of Mahasadashiva. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Om Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda 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 Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvati Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. With the divine grace and unending compassion of Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, we welcome each and every one of you with our love and respect. We welcome each one of you to this morning, an extraordinary day of yet another Nitya Satsang. Kailasa's Nithyananda TV is the official programming of Sri Kailasa, the greatest and only Hindu nation revived by Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. We have been offering multiple points of view about matters that directly impact the lives of practicing and living Hindus worldwide. And so far, we have been discussing the choice of food, a diet that we have, and how a simple choice between a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian diet actually has global impact. And not only for a shorter period of time, but in fact, it can change the course of the entire planet forever. And we have been discussing the multiple dimensions, the multiple aspects, and looking at hard data to understand the depth of the impact and how much the choice, a simple choice of a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian meal makes a lasting impact. And we have looked at the social, the economical, the political, environmental, survival, all of these aspects. And we've also entered into a grand poll where all practicing and living Hindus worldwide enter into a global election, the first ever Hindu election that happened, initiated by Sri Kailasa, the greatest Hindu nation in the world, and how all Hindus have come together to ensure that their voices are heard. Hindu votes are sacred, and the sacred votes have come in, and Hindu votes matter. The votes are in, and it is still an opportunity for all of us to give our voice, to understand that the meat industry, what we see and what we consume, has a flip side to it. What we see at the market, what we see at our food table, are only one side of the story. There is a flip side to this simple choice of meat, and that has far reaching consequences for the entire planet. It hits at our survival itself. When we try to understand, when we see this vicious loop that associates the choice of meal with the destruction of our planet and is a threat to all survival of all humans, then this choice between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian meal makes all the more important. It becomes all the more important and critical for us to raise our voice, raise our concern, and make our vote count. Joining us is Sinithya Sundareswarananda Maharaj, who has been giving us his insights and discussing this decision between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian diet. Nithyananda Maharaj.
Yes, thank you very much, Swami. Nithyanandam, everybody. So over the last few days, we've been looking at how the meat industry has its consequences on the nature and on our health. So today, we are also looking at how the food that we eat is directly affecting our consciousness. So with respect to that, just a moment. Yes, sorry for the technical glitch. So with respect to eating our diet consciously, we need to know what is the kind of food that is needed for us to manifest the state, space, powers, and being of Paramashiva. When we start eating the meat and the meat-based products, the non-vegetarian food, from various different aspects, we saw that we are accumulating all of the pain that that individual animal has gone through, and that gets stored in the muscles of that particular animal, and when we eat it, that comes over to us also. And when a majority of us, majority of people consume it, then the entire civilization itself or that entire society itself becomes consciously negative, which means the place where there is lot of meat that is being eaten, there have already been statistics and reports presented about the amount of violence that is high in those kind of places, because all the anger of those animals, all the fears of those animals, everything gets into the muscles of those particular animals and gets into your biomemory and muscle memory, making you also react in that same situation. So literally, instead of you becoming from human to superhuman, you drop a level low by going from human to animal. So you can make sure that you can change this and become part of this revival by going over to kailasa.org/kailasa-free e-passport, and you can receive your free e-passport, and also you can go over and cast your vote at kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1. If you haven't casted it till now, make sure that your voice matters and you can go over and cast your vote.
Why is the food that we eat directly related with our consciousness? Because our muscle memory, which is responsible for our day-to-day decisions, the decisions that happen as an impulse, as a response to something that we see, the muscle memory is responsible for that. If you see, as we grow from a less and less and less of a meat-based diet towards a vegetarian diet, and then from a vegetarian diet to a lesser quantity of consumption, and then eventually to even no food at all, as Swamiji has been telling us. In fact, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, said to develop a taste for hunger. We know how to develop a taste for food, but developing a taste for hunger, that does so much to our consciousness, to our awareness, the cleansing of the body, the natural cleansing of the body, and so much of detoxification can happen. That's of course the spectrum. Actually, if you remember the previous slide, we had varying degrees of consciousness, and the lesser and lesser of meat that is consumed, then the more conscious we become, and the more we are centered and aligned with our source, the intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, the cosmic presence, which is available within all of us. We can associate, align within that more and more as we reduce the consumption of meat, and in fact reduce the consumption of food itself, solid food itself. Now, why this matters is because the muscle memory, which is responsible for all the decisions, is directly related to the food. Now, if you see, the muscle memory is actually the quality of the muscle memory directly depends on the kind of food that we consume. The muscle memory is built based on the different qualities of the food that we consume. Whether, in fact, a sattvic diet, for example, which is a balanced diet between action and dullness, intensity and the dullness, that actually will give us a balanced mindset. So a balanced decision making can happen. But when we consume foods that are more intense, or rather that promote more irritation and anger, then our response will also tend towards those emotions. So our food directly impacts our muscle memory. So the link between the diet and our consciousness is direct. There is a very linear correlation between what we consume and how we are, how our consciousness is. And this exactly makes a difference, because at the time of the cattle, especially from the meat industry, when the cattle is being killed for basically slaughtered, the emotions that the life goes through, they are inscribed in its muscle memory. The pain, the torture, the fear for death, all of that, the suffering. And that, when we consume, that becomes part, that builds our muscle memory, because food directly contributes to our muscle memory. And in this case, any reaction, any response we have to life is only from that same spectrum of emotions, whether it is pain, suffering, fear, where fear may not be the response to life situations, unnecessary fear, unfounded fear, an underlying fear that happens all the time. So if we are experiencing all of this, then it means our consciousness has gone down so much. The quality of our consciousness has come down drastically, and that can be directly related to the food that we consume. So if this is something that you want to reverse, if this is something that you want to take charge and ensure that you are always at a higher state of consciousness, you are able to keep a balance and maintain the balance when decisive action has to be taken from your end, whether it is business, whether it is personal situations, career, whatever it is. We are faced with decisive decision making throughout the day. And if you like to keep a balance, and if you like to ensure that the right kind of emotions that are needed for the decision making, only those are allowed, and no additives, no unnecessary emotions are being brought into your system, then make a choice. Cast your vote. Make a clear choice between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian meal, because the contrast is staggering. How conscious we want to choose our life to be, and how unconscious we want to choose our life to be is quite clear in the choice that we make with our food.
Yes. And here we're looking at something where we can all relate with those animals. Now, if you all have been growing some pets, especially in our house, could be dogs or cats, you will know that they respond to emotions, which means when you are upset, they are also upset. When you are happy, they are also happy. So they actually respond very well to the emotions. Every animal is of the same kind. The emotion that you go through directly reflects the emotion of what the animal goes through. Now, at the time when we are slaughtering those animals, the anger and the violence that is there inflicts so much of suffering that literally there are tears flowing out of every single animal's life, animal's eyes, and they go through so much of fear, depression, and they go through so much of anxiety, an entire life in which they grow up. They grow up knowing that they are going to be killed one day. And that induces so much of life negative memories into the muscles that when we eat the same, we also become directly, I can say, a carrier of that same emotion in us. For example, if you go to your bedroom, what happens? You feel sleepy. You go to your office, maybe you feel tensed. Whenever you go to a temple, you feel relaxed. Why? It's because of the memories that is being carried in those places. If just the surrounding can hold so much of memory and has such a powerful impact on you, which is not even becoming part of you, just there around you. Imagine what kind of an impact will these kind of meat, which is filled with these pain and sufferings, when you constantly dump them inside your body, just imagine the amount of negativity that will happen in your life, in your body. Your moods go down, your depression comes in, anxiety raises, fear raises, everything. All the negative emotions start shooting up because it is you who have opted to eat it. Later, there is no point in blaming that, oh, I'm sick, I'm not well, this is how I am. No, no point. Because your life, you have taken the decision to eat that non-veg and to make that as part of it, which directly is equal to you opening your body to all these diseases, opening your mind to all these negative emotions, and consciously shutting down the possibility of Paramashiva manifesting through you. you can make the difference. Go over to kailasa.org/free-e-passport and receive your free e-passport, and make sure that your voice is heard. And you can also join this discussion by going over to the Facebook, or going over to Twitter, and sharing your opinion. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, you can go over and share that. Let us now get ready to watch a beautiful video before we continue into the further segments.
I welcome all of you, the whole world, to come and celebrate, enjoy not only the enlightenment ecosystem, the beauty of how it is getting revived. Be an insider for this great revival process. If you are an insider even for a startup company, you will understand not only the result of the company, even that being an insider is such a joy. Being an insider, when it was happening, is something extraordinary. So, I welcome all of you to come and be part of an insider of this revival of Kailasa, the enlightenment ecosystem, sovereign order of Kailasa, Kailasa nation itself. I request and welcome, invite all of you to become e-Kailasian. Get your free e-passport and make billions receive this free e-passport.
Nithyanam, everybody, welcome back. And here we're looking at some of the statistics of what would happen if we all decided to switch over to a vegetarian diet and stop non-veg. So how much would the world save if people eat less meat? So the projected annual savings in 2050 in billions of US dollars we're looking at. So here is that if everyone followed the diet recommendations, then we would save, direct healthcare savings would be about $482.4 billion, which is the direct healthcare in the sense like which direct medicines that you buy. Indirect healthcare services is basically the costs that are behind making every one of the medicines and the labors involved in it and all of that. That is $252.3 billion. Environmental benefits were stopping the deforestation and making sure that we're not using so much of agricultural pesticides, herbicides. All of that put together is about another $234.1 billion. And the total savings itself is a whooping $968.8 billion. So that is if we just reduce the eating of meat. Next, we're looking at if everyone went vegetarian. So if every one of us went vegetarian, then you can see that the direct healthcare would be $622.8 billion US dollars, and indirect savings would be about $350.5 billion, and the environmental benefits will be another $510 billion, and totally we would be saving about $1,483.8 billion. And if we all went vegan, $684.4 billion, $382.6 billion, and $569.5 billion, saving total economical worth of $1,636.5 billion, at the same time saving the lives of so many millions and billions of people all around the globe. Not just saving the money, but saving lives itself. So become part of this change and make sure that you contribute to this by going over to kailasa.org/kailasa-1, kailasa-voting-1, and cast your vote. At the same time, you can also receive your free e-passport at kailasa.org/free-e-passport and become part of this revival of Sri Kailasa, which is the only enlightened civilization, the great cosmic borderless Hindu nation. So we also have joining with us Mr. Nithyananda Maharaj, who will also be sharing some of the insights on the same. Sorry for the technical glitch. I think there's a little of technical glitch. We'll fix it up. So here we're looking at another statistic. It says that it could cost US between $197 billion to $289 billion each year, and the global economy up to $1.6 trillion by 2050. And that is what is the true cost of meat industry. With the global meat consumption on the rise, how do all the costs add up? You can go over and share your opinion on kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and cast your vote. At the same time, you can also go over to the Twitter and join this discussion by sharing your understandings, your questions, your opinions on the same, and receive your free e-passport at kailasa.org/free-e-passport. So what we are eating has multitudes of disastrous side effects, and if we just decide to change what we are eating, then we are converting the same thing into blessings for millions and millions of beings all across the globe.
So the economy of the food industry, especially the meat industry, if we look at the analysis, the ratio of food, rather the food that is given to cattle, the cattle feed, to beef is 3:1, which means we have to feed cattle 3 times food for us to get an output of 1 portion. 3 portions are being fed to cattle, so we can receive 1 portion. And this is definitely a huge hole in the world's economy. If you see, if you are pushing our natural resources, all the resources that are available, into the meat industry, and the meat industry production is far less. The productivity cycle, the return on investment is much lesser. So, of course, this leads to other consequences, that the meat industry has to supplement its costs and do other research where they have to maximize the profits. So they enter into inhumane modifications, genetic modifications, which we saw earlier, how the cruelty is being meted out to cattle animals. And simply, if we have to look at the economic equation, this just doesn't add up. This does not make sense. This is not a sustainable model for the world. And this is happening at a very rapid pace that we saw, that lot more of cultivable land is taken up and used for feeding cattle. What used to be agricultural land is getting changed into feeding ground for cattle. More and more is getting added. So more resources are pumped in, but the output is only at the ratio of 3:1, which is definitely destroying the world's economy as well. And of course, we also saw the other effect of this, that the natural habitat of so many species, even endangered species, is also getting cleared and eliminated, leaving most of the species extinct as well. So that dimension also we saw about this particular aspect, this particular data point that we have. So we really need to ask ourselves, how much feed does it take to produce a pound of beef? Like what goes into it? And what is the hidden cost? We buy meat at a certain price, but what is the cost of it? What is really going into it? So much of cattle feed is going in to produce a very small outcome, a very small amount of beef that we buy. And this is disproportional and doesn't make any economic sense. And if this continues to grow in the same fashion, then it will lead to a drastic economic decline. So much of money will be lost. And the problem is, this will not only be the pain or a dip in the meat industry, this will permeate into other economies, agricultural land, and so many other things, retail, all of the associated markets, they will also decline. And this will drastically impact the entire world's economy. And this is the last thing that we want at this point of time, because this already we are facing as a world an economic slump, and this cannot happen. The meat industry cannot be allowed to have this impact also as part of its profits. If you'd like to reverse this choice, log on to kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and make your voice heard, make your vote count, ensure that this economic slump, decline, destruction of the entire world's economy can be stopped. Cast your vote now.
Yes, and here we're also looking at another important statistic which says about the bleak future as we continue the meat consumption. What are the impacts of excessive meat consumption to our future generations? So this is a graph that actually kind of summarizes everything else. First is the deforestation. Second is the biodiversity decline due to the deforestation. Next is the lack of resources in water, land, and food, due to which the climate changes are also prone, and increase in greenhouse gases, soil, and water pollution. So these are some of the very important aspects of the increased amount of meat consumption. Over the last few days, we've been looking in depth on the various aspects of these. Yesterday, I was also reading another article that had come up, which was basically about the deforestation in Brazil's Amazon. And for the first time in 4 months, the deforestation in Brazil's Amazon raises over 50%. Forest clearance were down by 6% in the first 10 months of 2020, which was due to the COVID, after which it raised by 50%. And this is the rate at which we are functioning. And the deforestation, the only main reason of deforestation is for making it as grasslands needed for farming the cattle. In our schools, in our textbooks, when we are young, we are all taught that plants are cut to make papers, so we need to recycle those papers. But at the same time, the hidden truth, the flip side to the entire deforestation is not just that, but rather to grow the meat industry. If these were taught at a very young age to every one of us during the schooling itself, then surely we all would have taken the responsibility for it. But because even the education department is in hand with these kind of meat industries, and overall as a community we have become a consumeristic community, not caring about the values of life, not bothering about what is the right thing to do rather than what I am going to gain out of every single situation. Now, because that has become the motive of the top leaders and the top level influences, that is the reason we are continuously entering into this decline. So even though we know there are problems, we do not want to take the responsibility to fight through them and to find a solution for those problems. Exactly to avoid this exact kind of problem and to get rid of this once and for all, His Divine Holiness Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam has created the Sri Kailasa, revived the Sri Kailasa, which is the only Hindu nation that runs by the principles of Sanatana Hindu Dharma as described by Paramashiva in the Vedas and the Agamas, where just by the very core principles of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, all of this by a very nature, we don't even need to do something specific about them. But because of the principles by which we live, all of this is taken care. So make sure that you cast your vote for this at kailasa.org /Kailasa voting-1 and become part of Sri Kailasa by receiving your free e-passport at kailasa.org /free e-passport.
We're now looking at the impact on the economy from a different perspective. Let's say we have a piece of land, 1 acre. What can it yield? What will be a productive outcome? What will be the best return of investment? We can have 50,000 pounds of tomatoes, or 53 pounds of potatoes, 30,000 pounds of carrots, or only 250 pounds of beef. If we feed from 1 acre of land, then only this much we can get, which means more and more land has to be taken, more and more acres of land have to be deployed for this purpose, for feeding cattle, destroying our natural resources, the framework of natural resources that we have, will completely destroyed. Not only this, but the economy of it, the avalanche effect of this drastic decline in return on investment will be humongous, because now for this productivity, the meat industry will have to make other adjustments to the costing, to the whole process, because of course the meat industry is here for profit, and this kind of a return of investment is not going to work. So immediately there will be various other means where the cost has to suffer, the cost has to be assimilated, and that's where the hidden costs happen. Of course, the environmental costs, the deforestation, the way that the pollution happens, all of that is also one aspect of it. But then the meat industry will definitely have to make other cost adjustments, which is again pointing to the same destruction in global economy. So simply our choice of food has drastic impact on the world's economy. Very simply, a choice of food that we have, a diet, a meal that we take, will have the potential to bring down the world's economy. So, if you want to make a choice, if you want to make your vote count and ensure that whatever you face, whatever you're going through, that can be reversed. Even let's say you are part of the whole economic slump. Let's say it has impacted you. Then even that, a reversal in that can happen by making your food choices. We don't normally correlate it, but this is a vicious loop. When we eat non-vegetarian diet, it actually comes back to us in so many different ways. A big cost. Environmentally, what it does to the quality of the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food that we have, even the natural grains, the normal vegetables and grains that we have, and what it is doing to our economy, what it is doing to our planet, what it is doing to our endangered species, all of this. So this vicious loop, if you feel has to be stopped, has to be cut off, then join this vote. Log on to kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and make your vote count. Join this conversation on Twitter. So many people have already given their votes. Your opinion counts. Be a part of this Hindu democracy system in the modern world, the first ever global election of this proportion is being organized, and it is all happening from the platform of Sri Kailasa, the greatest Hindu nation, divided by Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Not only this, but for us to have conscious decisions, discussions about matters that impact the lives of the practicing and living Hindus worldwide, join Kailasa. Become an e-citizen of Kailasa. Join.kailasa.org and claim your free passport. Now, let us watch this clip, which gives us the understanding, gives us a little bit more insight into what it means to make conscious choices.
I welcome all of you, the whole world, to come and celebrate, enjoy not only the enlightenment ecosystem, the beauty of how it is getting revived. Be an insider for this great revival process. If you are an insider even for a startup company, you will understand not only the result of the company, even that being an insider is such a joy. Being an insider when it was happening is something extraordinary. So, I welcome all of you to come and be part of an insider of this revival of Kailasa, the enlightenment ecosystem, sovereign order of Kailasa, Kailasa nation itself. I request and welcome, invite all of you to become e-Kailasian, get your free e-passport and make billions receive this free e-passport.
Nithyanandam, and welcome back. We have been discussing the choice of food, the choice of diet that we have, and its lasting impact on the planet, and various other dimensions of this decision that we have. Now, let us listen into the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagatguru Mahasannidhana, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, on why eating non-vegetarian food and vegetarianism and eating vegetarian food is not the same.
A practicing Hindu has to be vegetarian. You cannot say no to the existence of animal. Developed the muscle memory to store the pain in them so they do not existentially feel the pain. They do feel some kind of a alternation happening in them, but do not feel the pain. Pain as one of the important quality, getting stored and ability to replay itself is one of the important quality of the pain, which does not exist in plants. Please understand, getting stored and ability to replay itself is one of the important DNA qualities of pain. Plants don't have that. That is why eating plants, agricultural products are allowed. I can give you tons of examples. Naturally, human body is created for vegetarian lifestyle. And I am also warning the whole world. Within next 15 years, you will be able to support the whole population with food only if you decide to turn vegetarian. Because 30 pounds of food is necessary to make 1 pound flesh. Understand, 30 pounds of agricultural food, which can be directly consumed by us, is necessary to produce 1 pound flesh. So vegetarianism, vegetarian lifestyle is the most affordable. I tell you, just by being vegetarian, you are doing annadana, giving food for thousands of people. Whenever you consume a vegetarian meal, you are already giving meal to 29 people. Because you are not taking away 30% food into one meal. Understand? If you are consuming vegetarian food, already you are serving food for 29 people. So understand, every time you put your hand on the vegetarian food, remember, 29 more people are blessing you for letting them have food. All practicing Hindus have to be vegetarian, because saying no to life is most dangerous. You don't have the right to say no to life. Actually, plants are also life, no doubt, but they have not developed the biomemory where the pain is stored and gets inside your system and creates pain. No. So if you consume them, if you consume plants, vegetables, there is no pain going inside your system along with it. There is no biomemory going inside. Pure energy, food, only that goes inside. But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory and biomemory. So when the animals are killed, they leave a tremendous pain, suffering. They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering and die that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband. Understand? No. For a very small reason, you fall into depression because your biomemory is prone to depression. Understand, when you are eating the dead animal's flesh, you are also eating the muscle memory, biomemory recorded in it. That becomes part of you. You become prone to that pain. You become prone to that pain. That's the reason I request you to be a vegetarian. Please understand. Even if you are a seeker, without vegetarian lifestyle, you will not achieve anything. Vegetarian life is a basic need. Not only vegetarian lifestyle, not eating anything grown out of chemicals, pesticides and fertilizers. Chemicals, pesticides and fertilizers try to become more and more organic because chemicals create a toxic mental setup in your system. I am giving you the straight conclusions. Try to become more and more natural, organic consumer. It is good for your seeking, good for your mental balance, good for you. Overall, it is good for your enlightenment and manifesting all these powers.
So we can see painful practices allowed on factory farms without anesthesia or pain relief. Tail docking, cutting the tails, dehorning, removing of the horns, hot iron branding, castration, and debeaking. These are violent practices to control the animal, to subdue the animal, and give it a very horrible existence where the pain is inflicted on it to control it, to make it completely powerless and unable to function as a normal animal. The bird's beak is very crucial for the bird's function. It provides protection and it uses it for many things. And then hot iron branding. Iron branding is a cruel way of just lettering the animal and categorizing it. Rather, there are many alternative, decent ways of tagging animals and marking them. Dehorning, horns of the animal, It has no use, the animal has no use of these various parts when it's in captivity. Literally, we are growing meat bags without even considering that it is a life, it has feelings, it has a future. These are painful practices, really painful and horrible, that are done in the factory farms without anesthesia or pain relief. Why would we? The whole point of this is to completely dehumanize and even take away even the right of the animal for being even the body it's in. It's telling you don't have a right to be having a tail, you don't have a right to be having a horn, which nature has given you. You have only the ability to grow and be served on a dinner plate for somebody. This is extremely painful, and it's rooted in extreme greed and extreme violence to control and not give back to the world. Kailasa, Sri Kailasa stands for caring for animals, for giving them a safe environment where they can grow naturally and have their best function as animals. In Sri Kailasa, we can change the way we decide by making a vote in this topic of veg versus non-veg. Vote vegetarian and make a difference in the world. The conversation is going on. More and more people are getting involved in the conversation. Decisions are being made also based off these votes in Sri Kailasa. Interesting ways and lifestyle opportunities and changes in our and guidance from Bhagavan is happening. It's an exciting time to be engaged with Sri Kailasa. Vote at kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and share what you have voted on your social media platforms with the hashtag Hindu votes are sacred. The next slide. You can see a quote by Paul McCartney. If slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be a vegetarian. To see the horrible practices is not a part of our daily life, as the meat industry has easily put it. All you see is meat on your table. You don't see the suffering, you don't see the pain, you don't see the cruelty that is given to that animal that is delivered to you at your on your dinner plate. You don't see the growth inside a small cage, cramped, without the ability to move freely, without the ability to grow beautifully, to grow healthily, always out to get some disease from the neighbor. All this we don't see. If those slaughterhouses had glass walls for everyone to see, then everybody would decide not to eat meat, to be a vegetarian. So, in the next slide, we have the vote and the decision that you can make by voting. Do you want non-vegetarian food to be kept as an option for Hindus to eat? A. Yes, regularly. B. Yes, ritualistically. C. No, completely should be stopped. Make your decision on kailasha.org/voting on this debate of veg versus non-veg. Kailasa votes, hashtag Kailasa votes, and hashtag veg or non-veg is a very hot topic that we can bring about in awareness to all our Hindu fellows and all of those leaning towards a lifestyle of non-violence, being cruelty-free, being organic, being healthy, and always contributing to the community and our environment and our fellow beings on this planet. So we can make our vote and also remember to put the hashtag Hindu votes are sacred. The next slide.
Yes, Maharaj. And how we treat our life around us, which is more vulnerable, says a lot about the quality of the consciousness that prevails in all of humanity and how much the humane treatment of life, respect for life, being life positive, with care and responsibility towards every life that is around us. That determines the quality of our consciousness as living and practicing Hindus who are inherently life positive and have the same respect for life in all forms. This is a clear choice, and when we get down and make this choice heard, make this voice heard, make our vote count, then we have the excellent opportunity to bring about a revolution in the whole world, an immediate stop to all the destruction of natural resources, and a reversal that can happen in all the dimensions that we have discussed in the pollution, the economic decline, the environmental aspect, all of this, the economy, every aspect, we can bring a reversal of what has been happening, the destruction that has been happening. That can only happen if you log on to kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and make your vote count. You can also join the conversation on Twitter with Hindu Votes Are Sacred hashtag and tell us exactly how you feel. What are your choices? How is your choice impacting life around you? And how you choose as a living and practicing Hindu, wherever you are in the world, how your choice impacts life around you and the entire planet itself. So log on to kailasa.org/kailasa-voting-1 and join the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag Hindu Votes Are Sacred.
Yes, Swami, thank you. Voice your opinion. Swamiji says, you are 2 billion strong. You can move the world. Swamiji is so aware and giving us tremendous strength in our numbers, which we don't even see. That we have 2 billion practicing Hindus around the world, 2 billion possibilities to manifest a change in this world, to give the world a hope for a better, safe, healthy future. Hence, the votes of the Hindus are very sacred. Take this opportunity to make a difference in the world. If each of us in the 2 billion share with each other and invoke the fundamental understandings about this meat industry, understanding things about the non-veg that we are served to us today, we can make a difference. It is all about starting that conversation. So take a chance to vote and share the hashtag Hindu votes are sacred and have the conversation immediately with others. It is about the 2 billion people waking each other up to the truths of the reality with which the world is being damaged today. Yes, back to you, Swami.
Thank you, Maharaj. Now this so we already went to It is now time for us to sit in Upanishad with Jagat Guru Mahasamidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, sitting with the simple integrity that we are here, open, available to receive the revelations and cognize the revelations of Paramashiva from Sri Kailasa. Sitting in Padmasana as much as possible, chanting the Maha Vakya. The Maha Vakya is the spiritual lullaby and also the Suprabhata that awakens Paramashiva in all of us. Let us become ready and available to be in Upanishad with Jagat Guru Mahasamidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
I bless you all. Let you all open all your three eyes and manifest the powers of Mahasadashiva. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.